This is the Life Roast with your hosts, John and Big T.
Welcome back to another episode of the Life Roast. I'm John, this is Big T here, and we're ready to get into it with you. Following suit as with last week, we were talking about the boo birds and all that fun stuff and how to recognize them in your life and how to, I don't know if cancel them out or block them out and just continue living your life. But we're going to flip script here and go to the other side of it in the sense that how do you become your own cheerleader? Is that?
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
How do you go from being a boo bird, if you are a boo bird in your life, in your own life or somebody else's life, and how do you flip that script and become the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader
Let's go.
of your life and everybody around you's life, right? And you know, T knows something about this. I know a little something about this. But this, I love it because these are the kind of people that I surround myself with now today, are the people that are cheerleading, the people that try to inspire, try to motivate, try to do all the things, try to be the positive, optimistic force in life. It's almost like Star Wars, right? You use the force, right? You got to use it.
Do or don't do. There's no try.
Use the positive, optimistic force in your life. Just always, this is what I'm talking about though, is like always encouraging and be like, yeah, like, let's do it. Let's go. Like, what are you going to do next? And, you know, like all that fun stuff. Right. So, you know, go ahead.
No, I mean, where to begin? All right. So we'll kind of regroup back from our boo bird discussion. And that was that, you know, you get all these people that are around you that just feel like it's their place to tell you what you're not doing right in life and you know, why you suck or why things are, you know, you shouldn't attempt anything. But, you know, today's discussion, like John said, is really around finding those individuals or surrounding yourself with those individuals that always see the best in you or always see what you're trying to achieve. And it's rare that you have these people. Usually everyone wants to give their 2 cents on what it is you're doing. They become the experts on what you're doing and they feel like they can tell you what you should or shouldn't do. And I think that's really the goal today is how do you avoid those people or how do you not listen to them, but then find in those people that you need, those that are going to promote. How are they going to help you? How are they going to push you? And then really, how do you become that person? So those people, like John said, if you are a boo bird, how do you become more motivating or more inspirational rather than always finding the worst in people or the worst in some idea because you yourself are negative or fearful or not willing to step outside of what you would call the norm. And I think that's really the discussion of what I want to push today is, you know, stop looking within yourself and using your own personal fears to express them on others because they're not you. They have some ability that you may or may not have. So why would you think they couldn't achieve it? Why are you going to press them to really live out what you think would be a fearful attempt at doing something? So does that make sense? Because I think I'm rambling.
Well, you are, but it's it was a make sense rambling. I mean, but that's exactly it, right? So like when we're talking about the boo birds, it's like, a lot of the time what I'm telling people is most boo birds, most people that are like doubting or fearful or like putting, you know, these limitations on whatever it is that you're trying to do. A lot of that, it's just projection, right? Like it all comes from within them, right? Like, so if I tell you that you can't do something, I don't believe that you can do something 100% of the time. It's because I don't believe that it's possible for me. And I project that out on you, right? So a lot of it comes from personal doubt, personal fear, personal struggles, personal limitations, all that stuff, and people just push that out on them, right? And so if you are a boo bird, that's typically what you are doing, is you are projecting that fear, that doubt, whatever it is, right? And it's the same thing as like when you're trying to push somebody to do something. It's the exact opposite, right? Like the other day we were talking about those people that tell you what you should do.
All right.
Right? Like you have to go to college. You have to get, you know, you have to figure out your career by the time you're 18. You have to, you know, join the military if you're that kind of family or whatever, right? And it's a lot of that stuff, that's not about you, right? Like that's about me if I'm trying to tell you all those things, right? So, you know, the first part of that is like kind of reflection and like figuring out what am I saying and why am I saying it? Or why do I believe these certain things? And like, why am I pushing my fear and my doubts on everybody else around me? It's almost like trying to keep them down.
Right.
Without like, I don't think it's always intentional. I think we've talked about that before. Like people think they know what's best without knowing what's best.
Right.
You know, they want what's best, but they don't know what's best.
I think what they want to do is they want to save you. They want to be that person that gave you or prevented you from falling off the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of go on your point, and a lot of you may understand this, is everyone's cliff is different. You know, I think I can stick the landing most time if I fell off the cliff, where most people would watch me and say, God, that's dumb. I don't know why he does that or what he's doing, and it's nuts and whatever. So their first line of defense for themselves is to help me in their eyes or convince me that I shouldn't do something. And in their eyes, they're being motivational. Like, I got you. Don't worry. I'm going to take care of you. But really, it's a boo bird type comment. Like, you don't know what I'm trying to achieve, but you're still pushing me backwards. Like, this is a really high cliff. You're going to hurt yourself. Well, dude, I got a parachute on and I've done this 1,000 times. Like, why are you being so negative? So I think, and I was thinking this as you were talking, and part of it is if you're this person, think about your conversation with people. And I see this all the time in my coaching, is that if you make a statement or you ask a question, the reply to either one of them is either done or will exaggerate kind of what you're looking for. And what I mean by that is, if I take a simple term or a simple process, like I say to you, John, the sky is blue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can argue with me and say it's not, depending on the day, but I made a statement. There's really no rebuttal. I made a statement. You shouldn't do that because that's dangerous. Okay? But going back to the blue sky, I'd say, now, John, why is the sky blue? Well, now that drives curiosity. Okay, well, I think this is dangerous, but why do you think it's not dangerous? Or I think this is not a very good idea. Why is it that you think this is a good idea? That's where I love when people come to me and I get excited. I'm the opposite of the boo bird. You tell me that you want to start my famous, what was it, the Muffin Man? You want to start a muffin company.
Underwater.
Like, I'm going to say, all right,
waving.
so tell me more about this. So where are you going to put it? And what kind of muffins are you going to bake? And I'm just asking questions because I'm curious. But part of me leading it down there is I know that making muffins may not be the greatest idea in the world for being a billionaire or whatever it is you want to do, but the questions drive curiosity in the person I'm talking to, whether I'm blasting them and saying, I think that's a bad idea through questions, it at least drives them in a direction that says, you know what, I don't know those answers. Let me find out. And then I'm not only being more motivational, but I'm also giving them little breadcrumbs to a trail that they maybe didn't think of. And I think that's where, from a communication standpoint, the boo birds just blast. That's a stupid idea. Why would you know how bad, you know how many companies fail? Do you know how many people do this? I mean, if you want to be an athlete, you know how hard you're going to have to train. You have to do all this. You don't have that. And you're like, those are all statements. So if you line yourself up and you look at some of the conversations you've had where the person you talk to gets angry, it's probably because you're making statements. You're not really asking questions. Did you ever get that?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, that's it's one of the things that I hate. Like, it's almost like a conversation ender. Like when people just start saying like, that's too dangerous, because I do dangerous stuff. I mean, but like any kind of venture that I go on or whatever, it's like, I love people that are inquisitive. Like, I like hanging around with people that are like, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? What's next? There's the term that came to my mind when you were talking about this is devil's advocate.
Yep.
Right. I love a devil's advocate. I actually need one in my life, right? Because like I have this thing where I don't always think things through, and that's fine.
And that's why we do this together.
And geez, but like sometimes I don't think things through for a reason, but sometimes I just don't, right? And I love when people ask the questions that get me thinking about the things that I missed, right? Or the ones that raise concerns. Aren't necessarily telling me that I shouldn't do it, but just raise concerns like you should probably, think about this in a way. Something that is dangerous, well, maybe I should take it a little bit more serious and actually do a little bit more research. Like that's totally fine. That's not at all what I'm talking about here when we're talking about like boo birds, you know. But like those questions are great because then you get. I love when friends start talking business with me. I love when they bring ideas of businesses that they want to start. And sometimes it is like a muffin man thing to me. And here's the thing, like, who am I to determine and decide that your idea is stupid,
right,
or that it's pointless, right? Because I don't know if you've ever seen the show. There's this really cool show called Shark Tank, right?
I've never heard of it.
No,
but go ahead.
Well, people come to this show and they bring these ideas, and sometimes, you know, people pass on them or have these things, but like I'm sitting there, I'm like, that's fucking stupid, right? But that's stupid to me. Like that's an intrusive thought to me.
Right.
I don't have any right to tell somebody that their idea is stupid or that it's never going to succeed, because I have seen so many stories of people doing the impossible. And I say it time and time again, there are too many stories of people taking stupid ideas and making a shit ton of money and fame off of it. For me to sit here and think that if I had it all figured out, I'd have everything that I ever wanted in life. And I'd have more than anybody else could ever have. So obviously I don't know everything. And obviously there's other people that do things that become successful from it, whether it's athletics, whether it's business, whether it's whatever. But it's just, I love having those conversations with people that are like, you know, want to start a business, or they're in high school and they want to go D1, they want to go pro. And I never shut that down.
Sure.
I want to hear their fucking dream.
Right.
You know, like I want to dive into it. I want to ask the questions, and you'd be surprised the kind of conversations that you can have when you just ask questions.
And I think that's the part that people struggle with. I was just thinking of this, and this is kind of on the boo bird, but yet eye-opening part of when people try and push their ways. I was blessed this past weekend that my oldest daughter got engaged, and the young man that she's marrying is incredible. So I'm super excited. But now the fun is really beginning. Now we've had previous podcasts on weddings, you know, and the stupidity of weddings and the expense and everything else. But the funny part is that I called my daughter and I said, hey, I just want to be wide open with you right from the beginning that I'm ready and willing to be a part of this wedding in any capacity, you know, all the above, financial, whatever. But I do want you to know, I'm not a big fan of spending all of this time and money and energy and stress putting together a 4-hour party to get our friends and family drunk. And she laughed, and she agreed. And I said, so let's just figure out what we want to do. But do know this, there are going to be people that come to you that already have 35, 40, 50 plans for you on exactly how they think this should work out. Meaning there will be family members, and I will look into the camera on this one. There will be family members that believe it should happen in a certain way, and certain people should come, and certain people have to be there. And, you know, we have to look out for the 300 different family members and friends on how it's supposed to be done. And I think this goes back to the lack of motivation. It's like, this is my daughter's wedding. It's her wedding. If she wants to have it in Tahiti or thinks that we should all wear weird outfits and everything else, okay, do what you want. That's what she wants for her wedding. I'm not here to interject. Financially, I will make the donation that I will make, and that will be that. But the part of what I don't understand, and this goes back to the whole conversation is, and you just said it, who are we to judge what they want to do? And why do we feel like we should interject how it should be accomplished? It's amazing. It's amazing that we are so, what would the word, arrogant to believe
that is the word right
that
there. Yeah.
What we expect of their party, of their business, of their sporting ability, of their whatever it is they want to do should be determined based on our thoughts. And I've told her flat out, tell people from the beginning, politely, I love you, fuck off. Obviously, don't say that way, but that's the feeling on the inside. And if you're listening to this, I think that this is where I love the posts on Facebook, and I love the posts and all the different things where you give your 2 cents on everything, and it's appreciated. But at the same time, I don't care, and I'm trying to teach my children, don't care. if they're asking you questions on what you want to do, and okay, going back to the whole thing, I don't want my daughter to do this, but that's my world. If she says we're all men are going to wear knights of shining armor, we all put on this, and all the ladies are going to wear these big things, like, I think that's nuts. But if she said that, I'd start asking questions like, okay, where do I get one of these suits? And do they make them in 6'4", big man size? Do they have extra large? And the curiosity would always be there, like, okay, I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to ask these questions like, okay, do we bring horses? Like, let's go to the extreme if we're going to do this. And that's me. But I'm not going to say to her, I think that's a really stupid fucking idea. I'm not going to be involved. Like, that's where I'm at. So if you're not asking questions, you're someone that's trying to change history, and I think that's sad.
Okay, so you said something. I don't think there's anything wrong with like setting personal boundaries, right? When you're saying like, I don't tell people I think things are stupid, but I will separate myself from things.
Absolutely.
Right? So like, there are times where somebody's doing something, I think it's a bad idea, I just don't want any part of it. I'm not going to sit there and try my hardest to shut them down. Now, obviously, if my buddy comes to me and he's like, hey, I'm about to go rob this bank, I'd say, where's the second ski mask? I mean, no, but stuff like that. Like, obviously, I'd be like, dude, this is probably not a good idea, right? You're probably already on parole and whatnot. But, like, that's an extreme situation. But otherwise, I just be like, you know what? Whatever, like, that's fine. You do you. I'm going to go keep doing what I'm doing, right? But like, there's nothing wrong with that. And I feel like so many people, and I blame the internet for so many things, but this is one of those things, right? When we have social media, we have gotten to this point where we think that it's okay to just have an opinion vocally out loud on everything. And I mean everything. Like, there's not a single thing single post online that somebody doesn't have an opinion on. It's so funny. It's so extreme to the point that I've seen people ask for recommendations for businesses, right? And then you get people on there who say something that's totally unrelated, bashing a business that's not even a part of the situation, or they're like, why are you doing that? Like, why not do X, Y, Z? And it's like, that's not what I fucking asked.
Right.
Like, it blows my mind. Like, everybody has to have an opinion on everything. And most of the time, if you're going through social media, it is not positive. Right.
Right.
And it's insane. So like, I feel like we've gotten to this point where, families are just as bad now. Right. And I mean, we talk about this all the time where like, people are so set in their ways. And, I say a lot of like grandparents and parents are like this, where they're so set in their beliefs and their systems and all this stuff that they're just trying to force it so hard that anything outside of that, they just totally rip on, or they peel apart, or they shut down. And it's like some kind of control. It's insane to me. Like, I used to be so like hell-bent on, being like that like now I see it and it's just like disgusting. I don't know. It's weird.
Well, I think that's a part of this conversation is, and I'm speaking directly to individuals where their first thought is, I need to tell this person my feelings. I need to express what I'm thinking right now, because you've triggered me to a belief that doesn't match what I know is factual. And factual is probably a very loose word. If you can mix factual with opinion, what would we call that? Factionian, whatever. Anyway, the idea there is, if you're the person that always feels like you have to give your 2 cents to other people, stop. Like, think it through. Think about your last 10 conversations with 10 different people. And did you find yourself curious as to what it was? Whether it didn't have to be anything, nothing earth shattering, a big event in their life that was going on, but just a conversation. Were you giving your opinion, Or were you being curious as to what this other person was experiencing or trying to do or attempting, whatever it may be? And if you're that person and you think in your head, yeah, I do seem to always want to steer the conversation or give what I know is my truths, then I have a word or a phrase for you, and it's shut up. Like literally shut up. You're not the sensei. You are not the expert. You are not the master of whatever it is in the world. You're the master in your head. So why is it that you believe your opinion? And I have certain people in my head I'm thinking of right now that constantly, I don't care if I talk to them, my friends talk to them, my kids talk to them. It doesn't matter who I'm surrounded with. There are 4 or 5 people I can think right now that all they do is judge in their head and then it comes out of their mouth. And I've advised people, just stay away from them. Just don't go around them because they're not motivating. They're actually demotivating. They make you question stuff, not because they're right, because they say such negativity, you're lost. And it's sad to me because sometimes these are people that are around us that we should be looking at as kind of a mentor or a leader, and they're really not. They've done nothing in their life to prove their theory or opinion is correct, but they'll constantly keep forcing it down your throat. And I think that's where, as an individual, you have to start looking at the people you surround yourself. And we said it last week with the Boo Birds. It's the 5 people you surround yourself. You're the average of those. Well, if you include one of these negative individuals in your 5 circles,
brings the average down.
And then honestly may attract more negative people. So it's like, look at your own life and remove them. And again, don't remove them as in you never talk to them again, but remove them in that when their mouth opens, nonsense is going to come out. So either ask them to change the topic or just stop having deep conversations, because it's just going to ruin your own mentality of what it is you want to achieve. Do you have people like that?
That I just totally want to ignore and like not be around? Absolutely.
Right.
I just had this conversation again. This conversation gets brought up so much, right? Like I just don't do it anymore. I associate. I am an acquaintance of, and I'm not saying I'm not a friend of these people, but like there's plenty of people in my life that you won't catch me outside of certain places, like hanging out with them. You know, like that is the solution. It's a solution like that I have found that works very effectively, right? Don't get too far gone into conversations with these people. Don't hang around with them if you have a choice, right? Sometimes you're at work, right? The workplace, school, wherever, you're going to come across these people, but not feeding into it is like the biggest thing that you could do, is just not carrying it with you, right?
Yeah, and that brings up a point. And I just heard this the other day, and it's like, God, I've known this for years. If you yourself have a goal, you have a mission, something that just come to you that says, oh, I'm going to do that. As much as I say to other people that are going to give you negative thoughts, the term shut up, we have to think to ourselves, if you have a plan or something you want to do, we need to shut up. We will boast about what we want to do and what we want to achieve and what we think is going to happen. So we go out and we tell people, which is inviting them to give us their critique. And I'm saying to you, if you want to do something, start it, do it, and shut up. Just do it. This way, you're well down the path. When you get to a point where someone says, I've noticed you're doing some things differently, like what's going on? Well, if you're already down the path and you're somewhat successful, okay, if you feel comfortable, maybe you start spilling some of what you're trying to achieve, but know who you're talking to. Because even the boo birds, the best boo birds can't stop from being boo birds. But my point there is just do. Don't have a conversation. Don't talk big. Oh, I'm going to do this, and oh, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to buy this. Like it's like your greatest day was the day you spit it out of your face. And then from there, nothing happens, which gives all of these boo birds just big chubby sticks of meat to chew on of just, oh, I knew it wouldn't, and I knew you said this, and this is why. See, I told you so. Like, fuck. So your best piece is shut the fuck up. Let it rattle around in your brain and then move forward and move forward and move forward. And rather than telling people what you want to do, start asking questions about what it is or what the next step is to individuals that know what the hell you're doing. Meaning, okay, I'm going to talk to an expert about this and I'm going to ask a question rather than going to my neighbor or my brother or my mom or whatever who you know doesn't know shit. And they go, well, I don't know. I don't think that's safe. Like, nope, wrong person. Write them on a board. Never ask questions to this person. So I think if we learn to shut up, move forward with what our goals are internally, you got a better chance of succeeding rather than some boo bird knocking you off the fence.
I'm glad you rounded that out because I was sitting here thinking like, I hate that advice. Right? Like, and it's not that it's wrong. It's just like, I hate the idea that so many people feel like that is the only way to go about it. And I'm going to dive into this for a second. If you feel like you can't talk to people about your goals, you are absolutely around the wrong people.
100% agree.
Right? And that's where I'm going with, like, I hate that advice because I talk to people around me about every idea that I have. Right? But I do so because I know that I have surrounded myself with the right people.
Right.
Right? I know that I have some devil advocate friends, but I also know that those same people are going to want to help me succeed. I know that those same people are going to want to boost me up. They're going to want to do what they can. They're going to ask how they can help. They can ask the questions that get me thinking deeper, right? Like, I love talking about the grand ideas that I have, but it's because I have surrounded myself with fucking fans, not boo birds.
Right.
Right. And that's why, like, I hate that. I hate that so many people don't know. And this is, I guess, where, like, I want to go with this is, most people don't know how to change that. I hate the thing that I hear people saying when it's like, nobody cares. Nobody, nobody wants to see me succeed. Everybody hates me. Everybody wants to get down on me, like all this stuff. And it's like, because you're around the wrong people, right? Like, that is the switch. That's the flip, right? Like, how do you go from being a boo bird to being around boo birds or dealing with that stuff? Like, get away from them. Change the circle of people that you're hanging out with. Right? Well, I can't do that. That's my best friend. That's my mom. That's my brother. That's my uncle. That's my boss. That's
my dad.
I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. Like, I just said something the other day. A negative mindset will never, ever, ever, a million years, all that fun stuff, give you a positive life. And the same's true if the 5 people that you're hanging out with are all negative. The negative mindset of the 5 people that you're hanging out with all the time will never give you a positive life. Right? So you either have to decide that you want more positivity, more goal setting, more success, all that stuff in your life, or you want to deal with the toxic, shitty relationships that you decided to stay in all the time. And I hate to say it like that, but, like, that's the truth, right? Because the biggest flip in my life was looking back and saying that all the people that I hung out with that were negative, that were victims, that were woe is me, that were always blaming and always down on themselves and down on each other, and going to the life that I have now where I'm surrounded completely by people who want to see me succeed, who want to see me happy. It's a 180 flip, but that is like the biggest thing in my life that I can see that has changed, that has helped encourage and promote the mindset that I have today. Because if it weren't for the flip of people that I had around me, I would have fallen right back into that.
Right.
So, like, it's bullshit that we can't share ourselves with other people. Like, that is a huge red flag in my
right. But look at it.
I get what you're saying,
right?
Yeah.
And I agree with what you're saying. I mean, you or I have built a life around removing obstacles. We run into them all the time. We either overcome them, go around them, go under them, or just blast through them. And a lot of that is based on relationships. But I would gather that totally made up statistic, the 80-20 rule, 80% of the people in our life are negative, that are going to push us. You or I know how to just go, okay, they're a family member, they're a friend, they're a neighbor. I will take them in doses, but I won't listen to them. where I think most people don't know how to remove them. As much as I talk to my kids and talk about how I'm trying to mentor them, not steer them in my mindset, but mentor them in, be your own person. But then they'll call me and say, oh, so-and-so called and Dad, it was such a hard conversation and I'm so tired of this. And my exact statement to them is, stop talking to them. Stop answering the phone. Stop allowing them the opportunity to give their 2 cents. And it's an age thing for them. We've taught respect. Respect for your elders, respect for this, respect for that. Like, show respect. You don't know everything yet. You're young, so you should be listening and understanding. So they're not ready to shun those people around them. The big issue for them and anyone that's listening to this that don't have the, I guess, superior mindset of saying, fuck you, I'm not listening to your dumbass comments that John and I experience or can live every day. It's how do they shed the stupidity they surround themselves with? And I think that's what I want to kind of push here is ask yourself the questions in your head of what information are they giving me? What's their background? What's their value? What's their understanding of what's going on? Or are they just spewing what they would do? Because if that's the case, let them blabber. Almost to a point where you're staring straight at them and you're not listening. You can use that time to think about something great in your life or something you want to achieve while they're sitting there droning on about some nonsense of why you won't be successful or why we have to worry about someone else or why we have, just let it go because that individual is not providing anything in your circle that just elevates you. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fair. I guess that sometimes I get in that, I've already experienced it. Right. And that, I guess that's kind of what I was trying to express is it is possible, but you're right. Sometimes, I'm not saying I don't have negative people in my life. I'm not saying I don't have negative conversations with people. Right. I'm saying that over time, developing that filter, that you were exactly what you were just talking about, developing the filter that says, process the information, but let go of the shit that isn't beneficial, that isn't positive, that isn't going to help you move forward, all that stuff, right? So learning how to do that first, I think that's a good first step actually. Not just completely cutting it. I mean, obviously going cold turkey on horrible people in your life is a good idea.
Well, sure. Right? Absolutely.
But maybe there's that bridge, bridging the gap is kind of just learning how to filter it out first. But even that, how do you do that? How do you filter that out? How do you just wake up and say, my dad, I'm not using my dad. He watches this. I'm not saying specifically.
Right.
Even
Examples.
specifically though, for the longest time, I would be told that I'm just not good at something, right? That I should pursue something different, right? So what's the first step in flipping that switch and saying, because I gave it weight. It used to get to me when people did that. I remember being in a place where people would say things and I'd hold it. I remember holding on to it and I'd give up on so many things because of it. But it's trying to think back, I don't really know what that first step was over the edge of figuring out this doesn't have to determine what it is, right? I keep coming back to this quote, my past doesn't equal my future kind of thing. Well, their past, their experience, their perspective, their beliefs doesn't have to equal my future either.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So where do you bridge that gap at? I guess
what it is I think as a society, and this actually drives me nuts. That's probably why most people get upset with me. And we've talked about this. Got an epiphany. I think successful people. Oh wow, we hit a button right.
I did.
First timer. We just figured out one of our little boards here has all these fun features on it. But going back to my epiphany, I think success. And success is in the eye of the beholder. It doesn't mean money and cars and all the fancy. It could be anything you deem as success. Successful people don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. And I mean this in that they have a goal, whatever it is, and they push towards it. And the boo birds can land on a fence and throw stuff at them. And the motivators can throw stuff at them, and you know, the cheerleaders and everything else. And they take the pieces where they want, but they still just don't give a shit. They look at their target and say, I'm still going after it. I'm still going to achieve. That's the rare person. Plain and simple. The problem is too many people give a shit. They worry what people think. They worry about failing. They worry about, oh my God, what's going to happen? Everything is kind of, it's the unknown. It's the literally, I worry about what I don't know what to worry about because it may come forward. And then when someone else lands and says, hey, I don't know if you should do it because here's why, it's like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Like, oh shit. God, that's one more thing to think about. So I'm still not going to, yeah, this is probably a bad idea. Whereas the people that don't give a shit, you and I, we kind of look at it and go, well, what's the worst that could happen? Okay, yeah, oh, that cliff thing, and then no parachute and not sticking the landing. Like, yeah, but I got to tell you, that ride down would be freaking crazy. Like, and then we hope we'd stick the landing because our thought is you just put your feet down and you land. And you know what? I'll never know if I'm going to die or not because I'm still at the top of the cliff. Like, fuck it, let's go. Most people, and I'm saying most, again, statistical, I don't know. I'm going to go in the 95% range. Don't attempt because of the fear of the unknown. Because the promise of what possibly is on the other side is just as unknown, and they're not willing to risk what they want because internally they can't, and they surround themselves with people that tell them they can't. So fuck it, I'm not going to do it. Is that a fair chew on that one?
Absolutely, yes.
Don't give a fuck.
You know what I think we're good at? This is what I think we're good at. I think we're good at storytelling, right? And I say that, I had this conversation recently with somebody because they were spewing a whole bunch of like hateful, negative stuff. Like they were just like in this miserable state of mind. And I started asking them why, and they started explaining it, and they were talking about like all these things, and they were just assuming. They were assuming a lot of stuff about other people and like why they were behaving the way that they do, right? And what it ended up coming down to is like this person was just telling themselves a story, right? They created this story in their head, and it led to their negative perspective, right? And I can't tell you how many times this happens. So many times this happens, right? And a lot of the time, like that's what we've done in any situation where we don't know, right? Anytime there's an unknown factor or something that we're not know, like our brain has become conditioned to tell a story. It doesn't have to be true. It just has to be a story. It has to be believable, right? And so many people are telling themselves these stories. And I'll go back to like the past doesn't equal the future thing, right? Like we've come up with, we've concocted this story that says, because this happened once or this way, anything else that is anywhere near what that might be like is going to end badly.
Correct.
Right? It's like it's almost like saying like I got into a car accident once, I'll never drive again. Because I might get into a car accident
every time.
Right? Like that's where the anxiety comes from. A lot of people like that don't drive again say, but that's not true. Like statistically speaking, you're never going to get into a car accident again in your life. But that's just another story. There's two stories. Right? What we do is instead of giving ourselves the negative story about the unknown, because they're both lies. Let's just be real about this. Anything that I say positively about my future is still a lie.
Right.
Because I don't know. I can dream it, I can think it, I can do all the work. I still don't know. I can throw a ball right now and a plane will land on my head. I don't know. That's right. But what we do is we started changing the narrative. Right? I started playing with words and I started saying different things to myself and I started saying different things to other people. And it's almost like that inquisitive question thing that you were talking about, right? It's like I started asking questions and I started changing, negative words to positive words. And I started saying, hey, you know what? Like maybe something bad will happen. Maybe something good will happen. Right? Like the probability is the same. And here's the thing, we say this all the time with the RAS, the reticular activating system and stuff. Like if I'm already creating this story that's negative, I'm going to find the things that align with that. And I'm going to tell you, this is real. This is science. They've done the studies on this. This is neurological. This is just how it works. If you start focusing on negative stuff, you're going to find more negative stuff to hold it up. But I promise you, the same thing is exactly true on the other side of it. If you start thinking more positive, more optimistic, you start being that cheerleader for yourself, you are going to find things that match the story, because that's what our brain does. Our brain is trying to make sense of everything, right? So if I am looking for positive things, I'm going to find them because they're all around us. It's like the to me and not for me thing, or for me and not to me thing with life, right? And so what we do is we just tell better stories. We just tell cooler, more fun, more awesome, more successful, more badass stories. And typically we end up happier, more optimistic, sometimes more successful, sometimes not. Sometimes I fail at stuff all the time, right? And that happens, but I'm still telling myself different stories than most people would. And that's all we're doing, because tomorrow is just a story that I've created in my head. Tomorrow doesn't exist. A half an hour from now doesn't exist. 3 hours from now doesn't exist. I don't know what you're going to say in 3 seconds, but I've already created a story about it.
Right.
And I already know it's going to be awesome. And even if it's not awesome,
I agree.
Right? But that's all we do. That's all we do is storytell.
But I think a part of that storytelling is, and you kind of alluded to it, and please listen. You surround yourself with everything you think about. Mm-hmm. So if you want to be negative and you spew negative, you should look and say, okay, when I have conversations with people, do we want to one up? Mm-hmm. Do we one up each other on who could say, oh yeah, you think that's bad? Let me tell you this. And it's like, okay, we just compound the bullshit of reinforcement to the negativity of whatever it is we're discussing. And I see this with very close people around me, where it's like, holy shit. Like, how does one person get that negative? And then as they're telling the story, I think, oh, they're finding reinforcement from 2 or 3 or 5 of their other friends. Like, oh yeah, if you think I'm thinking this, so-and-so thinks it, and this and this and this. And like, you're done in it, and like shit soup. Like, now wonder why you're so negative. You literally surround yourself with negative people. It's amazing. We have something, and this is probably a positive negative. We have something here at the Mullet called Drink Friday. And Drink Friday is really just a bunch of local business guys, buddies, whoever, and it's random. Some Fridays there's 2 people, some Fridays 15 people. And we sit around and bust each other's balls like we're a bunch of 10-year-olds. But most of the conversation is about how to get ahead. Is about, hey, I had this idea, and then after we get done joking and kicking each other in the dick, there's always like, all right, so what are you thinking next is, and what about this, and what is it? And now we're in a full-blown conversation where if we had a whiteboard, which we don't do, that's nothing formal, someone would probably get up and start illustrating on the board about, oh, you could then do this. Have you thought about this? Hold on, I got a guy. And it's like we're building mini business plans, sitting in this room, drinking bourbon and beers and whatever. And it just happens. And my wife will always say to me, why do you like Drink Friday? Like, what the hell do you talk about? And I think, I literally walk out of Drink Friday with a buzz and just the overall good feeling that I surrounded myself with a bunch of like-minded people that use this time to just relax and know they're in a safe space to say whatever they want, knowing, yep, if you hang a curveball, someone's going to hit it out of the park with humor, but at the same time, they're going to throw some questions at you that make you think, not in a negative way, but in a positive way. And then they go home and that's it. But you're almost in this mindset of like, oh, maybe it's not a bad idea. I just threw it out there like a kind of a thought, and enough questions and thoughts came back to me like, okay, that was great. Because that little circle, unbeknownst to all of us, has become this vetting kind of mastermind of, all right, maybe this wasn't that bad. Maybe this was a good idea. And no one really has an understanding. Like, we're not there to coach each other. It just happens because those people see why things are possible. Not, yeah, that's a stupid fucking idea. And don't get me wrong, there are times where they'll say that's a stupid fucking idea because it really is, because they've experienced it at a level far above what I'm thinking or anyone else. And you can walk away going, wow, they really put the full definition around that thought that I never really thought of. All right, maybe I'll squash that idea. But it's there because I've surrounded myself with that. I've made that conscious choice. If someone comes in, they're just a boo bird, I can guarantee you they won't be invited back. And it won't be because I've said don't come back. The rest of the party will be like, bro, like you don't fit this mold. And they would feel almost alienated from coming. So I don't know. John's been into it a few times, but do you get that when you're there, or do you experience stuff like that?
I do. There's a specific place that I go every week. I go to a meeting every week with the same group of people. And it's funny. It's exactly like you said. We don't drink, but it's it's this thing where like people come in and you either feel like you belong or you don't. And right, like, and if you're one of those people in this specific instance, like if you're hanging around with positive people and somebody tries coming in there and like being super negative, like no words need to be said. Like they're just going to not feel like they belong. And that's like part of the situation. Like if you feel like you don't belong, right? Maybe you're in the wrong group.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. Let me make this clarification too, is like, there's nothing wrong with being challenged.
Sure.
Right. I want to make sure that like this is part of the message too, is like, don't go to the extreme where you think like everybody who says anything negative is automatically a boo bird. Because I love being challenged. Like I love when people tell me it's a stupid idea sometimes, especially when they're like really close friends, because then I actually like, oh shit, like what am I, what am I doing here? I told you I need that sometimes. But like, that's pretty important. But yeah, like being around in groups, I think trying to find that is a really big thing. And, you know, like how do you find that? Like, how do you?
I think when you know what you want, when you truly know what you want, you know, here's my silly muffin man story. If I really wanted to start a muffin company, I'm not going to go talk to people that don't know shit about muffins, that don't know shit about business or food processing or whatever. It's like, then I need to find, and I'll take Drink Friday example. If I said I want to talk about muffins, no one in my group makes muffins. Now they may give me their 2 cents and their understanding of business as a whole. But if they don't understand the level of how awesome muffins are and how freaking enamored and excited I am about being the muffin man, I have to take anything they say with a grain of salt. I don't think most people can do that. They would probably take it as an attack. Like, oh, they don't know how awesome this could be, and they're dumb, and now they're upset. Like, no,
yeah,
they're just giving you the feedback of what they think they know. The question is what they're giving you back valuable? Can you take insights from that? And I think that's probably a lot of where people, like you said, negative is not always bad. It's how you interpret it in your own brain to say, all right, what can I take from this, rather than, oh, he's right, I shouldn't fucking do this, or fuck him, he's an asshole, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's like, okay, well, maybe what he said has some merit and there's some value I should pull from it. But if you don't have that calculator in your brain to pull out the pieces, again, this goes back to my statement, I would not say anything at all. That's a big part of it, is if you're going to spew greatness in your own brain, but you don't know how to find good, what's the constructive criticism, you take it as a personal attack, you're not ready to have conversations. Those people that get upset and lose their mind, well, those people are not, you should not have conversations. You're soft and weak. And, you know, I say that bluntly, like, do your thing and shut up, because if you can't take constructive criticism, you're going to have a hard conversation with most people. So I don't know if that answers your question. I mean,
Sure.
I really think as individuals, we're so worried about what people think. And we are so critical of ourselves because of, like you said, the story we make up in our head of what we believe is going to happen, that we're not willing to move forward. Or when we do make the attempt to reach out to someone and say, hey, what do you think? And then they blast us. We don't have the mindset to say, was that valuable information, or was that someone just spewing their nonsense. And I think that's the struggle. The people that move forward are those people that can either consciously measure up what was said, or they just flat out don't give a shit. I'm a good combination of that. Mostly, I don't give a shit. But if I'm going to ask questions to people or have conversations, like you said, I only have conversations with people that I know will add value. I eliminate conversations with anyone, and almost to a point where when someone says to me, "Hey, what are you up to now?" Nothing. Because I know there's nothing I'm going to have a conversation with them that doesn't just exude negativity from them. So they're an acquaintance, they're a family member, they're a loved one, but they're no one that I want to have a deep conversation with based on whatever it is I want to achieve. So,
yeah, I think the biggest thing there is just like knowing who's who,
right,
in your life,
and striving for who's who.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to shed dead weight, and I always need to preface this, that doesn't mean alienate them. It's a mental shedding of their words mean nothing. They're not adding value to my life. They're adding negativity. They're always questioning every move I make. You're no one I rely on for information. You are a loved one, and you will always be in my life. But I will not take your criticism or your judgment or what you believe is valuable to heart, because it's not there for me. They may add something to another part of my life.
Oh, yeah.
That they are an expert. And that's why I say we're not here to alienate people. But I think if you could take anything away from this conversation is find your cheerleaders. And that doesn't mean the one that blows smoke up your ass and say, "Wow, you're so great. I think everything you do is like gold." Your cheerleaders are someone that's just curious. That's someone that's going to ask questions. That's someone, okay, I like what you're thinking here. What about this and what about that? And they're behind you. They're not waiting to say, "Aha, I knew it would fail." Find those cheerleaders. Find those people that really push you to be more than you can be. And again, that's at any level. If you don't have those people, you need to step outside your circle and find those people, because that's when you'll start to see the little incremental gains in your life will turn into leaps and bounds of what you thought you could achieve, because they're pushing you just far enough to take that leap off the cliff, to stick the landing, or to get the parachute to open. Most people aren't willing to do that. And that to me is why we suffer as individuals, especially when you watch Facebook and all these different, I shouldn't say Facebook alone. It's all the social medias. It's how do I prove that I'm great? How do I show that I'm great? How do I put something out there that proves that I am? And then who always answers in the comments? Some fucking rude asshole that gives their personal opinion, and we take that to heart. Pure stupid. I rambled. Your turn. Go.
No, you're good. We're wrapping up. I guess the other side of that is like if you like being surrounded by negativity, if you like being around boo birds, if you like not getting ahead in life, if you like being the woe is me, soft individual who can't take criticism, don't listen to anything we just said. And then, which some people are going to do, and that's totally fine. Like that's just the world that we live in today. But look, like you said it, when I started surrounding myself with better people, my life got better, and I started growing in doubling my growth in life. And the same is true for when I was hanging out with negative people. And like, if that's not a defining factor of happiness, joy, and success in life, I can't tell you anything else. Because if you're not willing to do that, then, I don't know. Sorry. Carry on.
Yeah.
Like sucks to suck. I don't know. Like I get a little like non-sympathetic here at some point, because it's like, one day either wake up and decide that you're going to start making these. We're talking about incremental changes here.
Right.
It just doesn't have to be an extreme overnight thing. But like, if you want a better life, start surrounding yourself with better people and start cheering for yourself. It's literally a simple thing for complex people.
100%. And the part that came, I'll end on this, is practice makes perfect, or perfect practice makes perfect. Like every part of your life is an incremental gain. It's easy to move forward if you continually practice. It's hard to move forward if you don't practice and you allow yourself not to practice because someone else told you, probably best that you don't practice, you suck at it anyway. Okay, well, that's not going to motivate me. So again, if you practice bringing people in that you know are your cheerleaders and slowly start removing those people that are the boo birds, life changes quickly. John and I are both from the mindset of put up or shut up. Like, you don't need to be around me because you're negative, so I don't want to be around you. Totally fine. And I have no problem cutting you off. My wife says I'm cold. I'm not cold. I'm just deliberate with my actions. And I think more people need to be that and be less offended because someone cut you out. They cut you out for a reason. Whether you were supposed to be in their life to add value for a lifetime or for a week or an hour, like, stop taking offense to it. It's like ridiculous. We've grown soft. Maybe the word is a bunch of pussies. But I think your own cheerleading skills will promote people that are around you where you find just awesomeness in them. Remove the judgment. Everyone's got greatness within them. The question is, did we cover it up by shitty words, or did we uncover it by just questioning and finding a way for them that, or, giving them the opportunity to find it? I don't think as a society we do that. We find the negativity. So again, if you're that person, have a come to Jesus meeting with yourself and question, why are you so fucking negative? Why do you believe you're the sensei of someone else's life when your own life may or may not be imploding every day? So I can't stress this enough. If you don't have any positive influence on someone or any positive words, shut the fuck up. Like, period. If you don't know how to speak to someone, then just have nice, cordial bullshit. Hi, how are you? That's nice. Lovely. Okay, good seeing you. Move on. That might be my key point. Shut the fuck up. Like, find something positive. Grandma said, if you don't have something positive to say, don't say it at all. That's the message here. Be the cheerleader. Sometimes negatives are positives if you have the experience to express it. If you don't, shut the fuck up. That's my story.
And that's the end of the story.
So there you go. Shut the fuck up. So,
well, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, on that note, we should end because time's running out.
Yeah.
I will say this. Start sending this shit to your friends. Share it. Subscribe. Do all the magic crap that goes on the internet.
It's a good way to weed people out.
Yeah.
Send them positive things.
If you need us to talk to those other people, it's just as easy to send them this than it is for you to give them negativity. So there you go. Peace out, my friends.
Find out what this button does.
Peace out, guys.
All right, see you guys. Bye.
Now go forth and unleash the cheerleader within.